Who are you? Okay, I don't mean to get all like zen and kind of philosophical in this video, but it's important to know who are you when you take this test, and being more specific, what are your capabilities? How good are you at reading or not good? Where are your weaknesses? When you know yourself, you'll be a much more confident and capable test taker. Probably the most essential area to know yourself, and this is something you can do by yourself, you don't need me, okay, but I can give you a guideline, is in terms of speed, right? There is a definite correlation between reading speed and score. 100% there is, okay? What I want you to do is, go onto the College Board website, download that test one, right? Then get a timer, use your phone or a clock, whatever, but the more precise the better. And then read that first passage about Akira and Naomi. And see how long it takes you to read, including the introduction, the italicized intro. See how long it takes you. I'll give you a ballpark. Okay, for kids that score consistently, 350 plus, really good kids, they can read that in around 2 minutes and 20 seconds or less. Yeah. So, the more you're going over that, the lower your score is. Okay. Now, why am I talking about this? The reason is there's kind of an irony here in that I find the students who have the weakest reading ability are the most stubborn in terms of solving questions. I don't know why, but they insist on solving each question in order. Dude, it doesn't matter if it takes them 5 minutes. They're gonna solve that question. Okay, now that's a terrible idea. So once you can kind of figure out your capabilities, using that kind of 220 as a guideline, okay, you need to kind of think of this test. This is not an amorphous test with everything the same. There are different questions made for different kids, okay? There are questions made for the kids who score 370 to 400. There are questions made for kids who score 360 to 380, and so on and so forth as we move down. Obviously, the higher up you go, the more questions that are quote unquote open to you. The lower down you go in terms of your score, the less questions that are open to you. So that means if you're scoring around 300 or 280, you should not be attempting every single question in this exam, right? That's really naive. You mustn't do that, because what's going to happen, I guarantee you, I know what'll happen. You're going to run out of time in the last passage, and there will be questions that you could have got right, which you won't get right because you've run out of time. Guarantee it, 100%. So you need to kind of have a water kind of philosophy. When water meets a rock, what does it do? It doesn't just, stand there. It goes around the rock, right? That's how the water, goes down the mountain and gets to the sea, right? It moves flexibly through things. You need to apply the same philosophy, okay? As your score gets higher, you're more powerful in terms of water, right? You can hit that rock and maybe get it out the way. As you are lower in terms of ability, you need to probably avoid more and more questions, right? Only you can figure out how many you should be avoiding, right? As a rule of thumb, if something's gonna take you more than, 25 seconds to solve, don't do it. Move on to the next question. You can always, once you've gone through everything, come back and resolve the ones which you skipped. But anything that's gonna take you longer than 25 seconds, from what I've seen in my experience, time on question, like the amount of time that you spend on a question, does not correlate with the chance of you getting it right. It doesn't seem like there's a direct correlation for most questions. So the ugly irony is, let's say you spend like 2 minutes on a question, but you eventually get that wrong. You've basically burnt 2 minutes of your time. 2 minutes of your time that could have been used for, like, I don't know, question 48 later in the test, which is a lot simpler. Okay, so bear that in mind, right? Measure your speed, use that first passage, go through it, see how quickly you can do it, and then kind of get into the mental process of, I'm gonna try a question up until a certain point, and then I'm gonna have the courage to let it go and just move on. And if I have time at the end, then I'll come back to it. Okay, keep that in mind, guys. Know yourself.